Think about those times when you feel, you know, properly at ease, genuinely relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
What's that actually feel like for you? The little things, maybe the big things.
Mm-hmm.
What brings that sense of calm into your day?
It's something we're all looking for, isn't it?
Totally. It feels like this fundamental human thing, this desire for well-being, just getting a break from all the pressure.
It really is. That drive to feel good, avoid feeling bad. It's so deep in us. Shapes so much of what we do.
And that's exactly what we're getting into today on the deep dive. We're taking this wide look at the human quest for well-being, for relaxation.
Yeah, billing from all sorts of places.
Right. Biology, psychology, philosophy too, even how society shapes it. And this really interesting angle, how artificial intelligence is trying to make sense of it all.
It's quite the mix.
We've got some fascinating material, including some pretty thought-provoking stuff from a source called Human Relaxation, AI Understanding. Our mission, really, is to pull out the key nuggets for you, our listener, get to the heart of it.
And that's what people want, isn't it? To get the key info, but like quickly and without it feeling like homework.
Exactly. We want those aha moments, but, without the overwhelm.
Let's do it.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, so first things first. When we say relaxation, what are we actually talking about?
Well, at its core, it's about letting go of tension, worry, that kind of thing.
Okay.
It's an emotional state, really, quieting down the more agitated feelings like anger or fear. And physically, there's stuff going on, too.
Like what?
It connects to activity in the front part of your brain, the frontal lobe. And that sends out signals that, well, they basically have this mild calming effect on your whole system.
Ah, okay, so it's not just a feeling, it's physiological.
Yeah.
There are real tangible benefits then.
Oh, definitely. Big ones. Relaxation actively pushes back against that whole fight or flight stress response.
Right, the body's alarm system.
Exactly. So when you relax, your metabolism slows down, heart rate, breathing, they get more regular, blood pressure tends to drop, muscles loosen up, even your brain waves calm down. And interestingly, it also seems to boost your immune response, sharpen your focus, and can even help you make better decisions. It's like giving your entire system a proper chance to, reset and recharge.
That makes so much sense. Giving the body a breather, but well-being. That feels bigger than just relaxation in the moment, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, when philosophers talk about well-being, they're often getting at something more fundamental, like what's good for a person in itself.
Intrinsically good, you mean? Not just good because it helps you get something else.
Precisely. Things we value just for what they are.
And I guess there are different ideas about what those things actually are.
Yeah, a few main schools of thought. There's hedonism, that's all about maximizing pleasure and minimizing pain.
Okay.
Then you've got desire satisfaction theories. Well-being is about getting what you actually want.
Right.
And then there are these objective list theories. They say certain things like, success, friendships, knowledge, health. They're good for you, whether or not they feel instantly pleasurable or satisfy a specific desire you had. It shows well-being isn't just one simple thing. It's complex. Which, is a nuance AI might struggle with if it's just focused on optimizing.
That hedonism idea seems pretty relevant, though, given what we said about relaxation and seeking positive states.
It is, yeah. Hedonism basically says pleasant experiences are happiness, unpleasant ones are suffering, and happiness is just inherently good, suffering inherently bad. Pretty straightforward on the surface.
But is it really that simple? Just chase pleasure all the time. I feel like I've heard about the paradox of hedonism.
Ah, yes, that's a really critical point. The paradox is basically if you try too hard, too directly to maximize your own pleasure, you might actually prevent yourself from experiencing it.
Like trying to force yourself to have fun at a party.
Exactly. It often backfires. And that's a really important thing to consider when we think about AI potentially trying to, say, optimize our well-being based purely on measurable pleasure signals. Its logical, direct approach might completely miss how humans actually find deeper satisfaction, often indirectly.
So this deep dive isn't just about chilling out. It's about this whole human drive.
Yeah.
Aiming for good stuff, avoiding bad stuff, how we cope, how we find meaning, all of it.
Precisely. And to really get a grip on it, looking back at our history, our evolution, that's super helpful.
Okay, let's do that. Take a trip back. What can our evolutionary past tell us about stress and relaxation?
Well, The stress response fight or flight, that's a classic survival adaptation, right? It evolved to protect us from immediate danger.
Saber-toothed tigers and all that?
Sort of, yeah.
Okay.
It involves ramping up the nervous system, releasing stress hormones like cortisol, gets you alert, mobilizes energy, crucial for dealing with physical threats back then.
So stress was actually good in those moments.
In short bursts for survival, absolutely. But relaxation is just as vital. It's the counterbalance, governed by a different part of the nervous system, the parasympathetic. It lets the body get back to baseline after the stressor is gone.
Recovery mode.
Exactly. And that recovery is crucial for long-term health. There was evolutionary pressure to develop these relaxation mechanisms because being constantly stressed out is, well, really bad for you over time.
Did early humans have ways to, deliberately relax?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. If you look across history and cultures, you see all sorts of things. Prayer, warm baths, listening to music or nature sounds, using herbs, even drinking warm milk.
Comforting things.
And of course, meditation. That's ancient, goes back thousands of years in India, became part of many religions.
Has modern science looked into this stuff too?
It has. Big time. Dr. Herbert Benson's work in the 70s was huge. He studied what he called the relaxation response.
Right.
And he showed that people could actually learn to consciously trigger this calming state in their bodies using specific techniques.
So it's like stress and relaxation have always been these two sides of a coin, and we've always been trying to find that balance.
That's a great way to put it. The stress response is powerful short term, but chronic stress is damaging. The fact that relaxation practices are so universal suggests this deep human need for balance. It's something AI, without a body or those biological drives, just can't experience in the same way.
It leads us nicely into thinking about well-being as this really complex thing, not just one factor.
Exactly. Human well-being is this incredibly tangled web. Mental, physical, physiological, social. It's all in there.
Shaped by everything.
Right. Our genes, our biology, our philosophies, the physics of how our bodies work, how we process information, our logic, our state of mind, our beliefs, it's all connected.
And relaxation seems to touch on nearly all those areas.
It really does. We know it helps mentally, physically. It improves cognitive stuff like attention, memory. It can strengthen social bonds, even make us better at our jobs.
It's this holistic, integrated feeling. How does that compare to how an AI might see it?
Well, AI works very differently. It processes information more compartmentally, analyzing separate data streams.
Like pieces of a puzzle.
Sort of. It can spot patterns, connect the dots between, say, sleep data and mood logs. It can even optimize for specific measurable things, but it doesn't have that unified, subjective feeling of well-being that emerges for us.
So its understanding is more like building something from instructions, not experiencing it.
Exactly. It's compositional, built from parts, rather than this emergent, felt sense we have.
Okay, let's zoom in on the biology again. When we relax, what's happening inside our brains specifically?
Right. So we mentioned the frontal lobe link earlier, and practices like meditation, they have really striking effects on brain structure and function.
How so?
Well, regular meditation can actually increase the amount of gray matter in the prefrontal cortex.
The brain CEO, kind of.
Yeah, pretty much. It's key for decision-making, attention, self-control. So more gray matter there often means better emotional regulation. It shows our brains aren't fixed, We can actively cultivate calm. That's a biological capacity AI can only observe from the outside.
That's amazing, actually changing the brain.
It is. And it's also linked to reducing the size and activity of the amygdala.
The fear center.
Yep. Calming that down leads to a lower overall stress response, which connects to things like lower blood pressure, less inflammation. It doesn't stop there either.
More.
Meditation can also boost gray matter in the hippocampus, crucial for memory and emotional regulation. And it can decrease activity in the default mode network.
What's that?
That's the network that's active when your mind is just wandering, kind of daydreaming or ruminating. Less activity there often means less getting stuck in negative thoughts, more being present.
So it's like a whole brain tune-up for calm and focus.
Yes.
And what about the body's relaxation response itself?
Right. That's engaging the parasympathetic nervous system, or rest and digest mode.
The opposite of fight or flight.
Exactly. And that triggers a whole cascade. Heart rate slows, breathing slows, blood pressure drops, muscles relax, even our metabolic rate goes down. Plus, as we said, better immune function, sharper thinking.
So the stress response involves the sympathetic system, cortisol. Relaxation is the parasympathetic system kicking in.
You got it. And the key takeaway here is consistency. Doing these practices regularly isn't just a quick fix. It leads to lasting changes in the brain neural plasticity.
The brain rewiring itself.
Precisely. It really drives home that well-being isn't just something that happens to us. It's a skill we can actually cultivate.
That's incredibly empowering. Okay, what about genetics? Do our genes influence how easily we relax or how stressed we get?
They definitely play a role. There are individual differences, for sure. Some genetic variations affect how our bodies break down stress hormones like adrenaline and noradrenaline, and that can influence how quickly we bounce back from stress. So yeah, there seems to be some genetic predisposition towards how readily someone can relax.
But it's not all genes, right? Our experiences matter too.
Hugely, absolutely. Environment is massive. Stressful life events, especially early on, can have long-lasting effects on things like our baseline cortisol levels and how reactive our stress system is throughout life.
So it's nature and nurture.
Exactly. It's this complex dance. Genetic vulnerabilities might make someone more susceptible, but positive experiences could buffer that, or negative ones could make it worse. This is actually an area where AI analysis of genetic and other data might potentially lead to more personalized well-being strategies someday, though obviously that raises its own ethical questions.
Thank you. Okay, let's pivot to the psychological side. Humans feel such a huge range of emotions. How do they fit into well-being and relaxation?
Oh, human emotions are incredibly complex, aren't they? And so subjective. They're tied up with our consciousness, our lived experience, in a way that's just totally different from AI's simulated responses.
Right.
Think about laughter, crying, anger, happiness. They all serve purposes. Laughter connects us, relieves stress. Crying signals needs. Anger can motivate action or boundary setting. Happiness reinforces good experiences.
Humor feels like a really special one. How does that fit in?
Humor, yeah, often leading to laughter. It's such a powerful social tool. It builds bonds, shifts perspectives, helps process tricky stuff. It's a tension reliever, a social glue. Really important.
What about cultivating specific emotions like compassion?
Compassion is fascinating. It's about caring for others' suffering, but staying emotionally balanced yourself. And cultivating it actually strengthens our own emotional regulation and resilience.
How does it do that?
Physiologically, it can boost oxytocin, the bonding hormone, and lower cortisol. It activates brain areas involved in empathy and emotional control. So emotions aren't just passive feelings, they're adaptive tools. And intentionally practicing things like compassion directly impacts our well-being.
So we have these innate emotional responses, but we also learn specific ways to relax. What are some common techniques?
Yeah, there's a huge toolkit, both natural things we do and learned techniques. You've got meditation, autogenics, all sorts of breathing exercises, deep breathing, box breathing, cyclic sighing.
Progressive muscle relaxation.
Yep, PMR, guided imagery, yoga, tai chi, qigong, biofeedback, massage, art or music therapy, aromatherapy, hydrotherapy, even just being in nature, exercising, or connecting socially.
Wow, quite a list. Is there a common element?
A lot of them involve focusing attention and cultivating awareness, training the mind, essentially. And the key for most is consistent practice. They're not passive, you have to engage. It kind of challenges that idea that relaxation is just about zoning out. It's like building an inner technology.
We talked about seeking pleasure, but that has a dark side too, doesn't it? Addiction.
Yeah, addiction it's a tough one. It's that compulsive engagement with something harmful, even when you know it's bad for you. Fundamentally, it's about the brain's reward system getting hijacked.
How does that happen?
Addictive things, substances, or behaviors flood the reward system with dopamine, way more than natural rewards do. Creates this intense pleasure or relief.
And then the brain changes.
It adapts. It reduces its own dopamine production, becomes less sensitive. So you need more of the addictive thing to get the same effect, and normal pleasures feel kind of dull. It fuels this cycle. Craving, using, withdrawal, repeat.
We mentioned hedonism earlier. Could focusing too much on pleasure, in that philosophical sense, actually contribute to addiction?
It's a relevant link. If pleasure-seeking becomes the only goal without considering the long-term costs, it can definitely lead down paths like substance abuse. Addiction is like a distortion, a perversion of that natural reward system.
So AI might see patterns related to addiction in data, but it misses the whole subjective experience, the struggle.
Exactly. It sees the data points, maybe correlations, but not the lived reality. And that raises big questions about AI trying to optimize our pleasure or well-being. Could it inadvertently push us towards unhealthy dependencies? It lacks that deep understanding.
Okay, let's widen the lens again. Think about society, our basic needs. How fundamental are those?
Absolutely foundational. Think Maslow's hierarchy. At the bottom, you have physiological needs. Food, water, shelter, sleep. You need those met before you can really focus on safety, belonging, esteem, self-actualization, which includes mental health, relationships, purpose.
And there are actual benchmarks for these things, like how much water or sleep.
Yeah, there are general guidelines. Recommended water intake, typical sleep needs for adults, the importance of a balanced diet. Even mild dehydration affects mood and thinking. Nutrient deficiencies are linked to mental health issues. Chronic lack of sleep has tons of negative health effects.
And rest is more than just sleep.
Definitely. Regular downtime, relaxation, that's crucial too. Prevents burnout, boosts creativity, job satisfaction. It really shows how our physical state underpins everything else. Homeostasis, that biological balance, is the baseline for well-being. If the physical isn't sorted, addressing mental or emotional stuff is much, much harder.
What about relationships? Social connection, how vital is that?
Oh, incredibly vital. Close relationships, strong social bonds. They're fundamental for managing stress, building resilience. People with good support networks generally cope better.
What are the benefits?
Increased happiness, better physical and cognitive health, help with grief, new perspectives, problem-solving support, healthier habits, a sense of meaning. The flip side is loneliness and poor support are strongly linked to more depression and anxiety.
So connections actually buffer stress.
They do. Social interaction triggers calming hormones, counteracting fight or flight. Strong bonds improve emotional resilience, immune function, lower cortisol. It's a biological regulatory mechanism. Real interaction affects our internal state.
Our society often pushes productivity so hard. How does that pressure affect rest?
Yeah, that constant emphasis on productivity. It often makes people feel guilty for resting, like it's lazy or unproductive.
Even though we need it.
Exactly. Research shows rest is crucial for sustained productivity, creativity, problem-solving, job satisfaction. So there's this conflict between societal values and our actual biological and psychological needs. It can lead straight to stress and burnout.
It seems like we're starting to recognize the importance of teaching kids relaxation and emotional skills early on. Why is that becoming a focus?
There's definitely a growing understanding there. Teaching kids mindfulness, relaxation techniques, it's seen as key for their mental health development.
How does it help them?
It helps them learn to calm themselves, focus their breath, notice feelings without getting overwhelmed, respond thoughtfully instead of just reacting. It can improve attention spans, good for school, build resilience, empathy, self-control. Research even suggests it reduces anxiety and depression symptoms in kids.
So it's about giving them coping tools for life.
Exactly. Early emotional education is really a preventative strategy, building those foundations early on.
Which brings us right to AI. How does AI even try to understand something as messy and human as emotions or intentions?
Well, there's this field called affective computing, or emotion AI. The aim is to get machines to recognize, interpret, maybe even respond to human emotions.
By looking at faces, voices.
Yeah, analyzing facial expressions, tone of voice, physiological signals from wearables, sentiment in text, stuff like that. And this is huge, but current AI doesn't have genuine emotional intelligence. No consciousness, no empathy, no subjective feeling. It can mimic based on patterns, but it doesn't feel.
Like describing warmth to a computer.
Exactly. It gets the data, not the sensation. Philosophers talk about qualia, the subjective quality of experience. AI doesn't have that.
Can AI figure out our goals, though, our intentions?
It's getting better at inferring goals from language, from past actions. You see this in human-AI collaboration research. But again, AI doesn't have its own inherent purpose or motivation like humans do. Its understanding comes from the objectives we program into it. It can help us achieve our goals, but it doesn't have its own existential purpose.
What about humor? That seems uniquely human. How does AI handle jokes?
Humor is tricky. So subjective, cultural, relies on timing, empathy, understanding context, surprise. AI, especially large language models, can generate text that looks like a joke because it recognizes patterns in language used in jokes.
But it doesn't get the joke.
Nope. No amusement, no understanding of why it's funny. It really struggles with sarcasm, irony, things that depend on implied meaning, tone, context. It lacks emotional depth, that intrinsic drive for expression that fuels a lot of human humor. It's pattern matching, not genuine wit.
So huge limitations in understanding. But can AI still be a useful tool for managing well-being?
Oh, absolutely. The potential as a tool is significant. For stress management, for example, AI can analyze data from wearables, heart rate variability, skin temp, look at communication patterns, even self-reported mood.
To detect stress early.
Exactly. And then offer personalized help. Maybe tailored meditation guides from apps like Headspace or Calm, maybe CBT techniques via a chatbot like Wobot, maybe suggesting workload changes or reminding you to take breaks. It can do real-time analysis, spot patterns, even predict risk. It shifts things towards being more proactive.
Can it help with focus, too? Concentration?
Yes, definitely. AI-powered apps can personalize mindfulness exercises known to improve attention and memory. And there are productivity tools, Notion AI, Copilot, Motion, that use AI to manage tasks, prioritize, optimize schedules, basically reducing cognitive load so you can focus better.
Like digital scaffolding for the brain.
That's a good way to think of it.
What about using AI's analytical power for issues like addiction or developing coping skills?
Its ability to analyze patterns in behavior and physiology could be really helpful for identifying addiction risks or early signs of distress. And then it could offer personalized coping strategies. AI chatbots can provide 24/7 support using CBT principles for stress, anxiety, mood tracking.
So it's good at spotting patterns in data.
Its strength is analyzing huge data sets for data-driven insights, yes. But, and it's the same caveat, it lacks fundamental human empathy. It can't interpret nuanced emotional states like a human therapist can. So it should be a complement to human care, never a replacement for that connection.
We keep coming back to this gap AI analyzes, but humans experience. What does AI's lack of consciousness, of lived experience, really mean for its ability to grasp well-being?
It gets right to the core, to what philosophers call the hard problem of consciousness, explaining subjective experience, qualia. Why does happiness feel like happiness?
And AI doesn't have that.
The broad consensus is no. Current AI lacks self-awareness, subjective experience, self-reflection. It processes information, period. Mimicking pain isn't feeling pain. Consciousness is often seen as tied to biology, complex biological processes. AI isn't biological.
So if subjective experience needs biology, AI can't have it.
That's a strong argument. It means AI's understanding of well-being will always be external, objective, data-based. It can't grasp the internal, subjective, qualitative side that's so central for us.
Does this extend to big concepts, like death, meaning?
Absolutely. AI has no sense of time passing like we do, no hunger, no biological drives for rest or reproduction, no inherent purpose stemming from being alive.
How can it grasp death, then?
It can't, not in an existential way. Philosophically, death is this ultimate unknown, maybe incomprehensible until experienced. AI lacks the subjective experience of being alive to even begin to grasp its absence. Similarly, the human search for meaning that involves struggle, reflection, insight. AI giving quick answers might even short-circuit that vital human process.
An existential void in AI.
Yeah. No body, no drives, no subjective experience means it can process information about death or meaning, but it can't engage with them as realities.
Okay, so integrating AI, especially around well-being, we need to be careful. What are the big ethical signposts?
Responsibility is key. We need ethical principles guiding development to prevent harm. One huge area is bias.
Bias in the data.
Exactly. AI learns from data. If that data reflects societal biases, racial, gender, whatever, the AI can learn and even amplify those biases, leading to unfair outcomes, maybe inaccurate assessments of well-being for certain groups. Think of that flawed Amazon recruiting tool.
So we need diverse, ethically sourced data and transparency.
Crucial. Plus, privacy and security are massive concerns. AI often needs vast amounts of personal data. How is it collected, consented to, protected?
And what about the risk of AI manipulating us, maybe subtly?
That's another major concern. Because AI can mimic emotion, it might create false connections, lead to misplaced trust or dependency, or worse, be used to manipulate emotions for commercial gain or influence vulnerable people.
So transparency is key. Knowing it's an AI.
Absolutely paramount. And designing AI to enhance our autonomy, not control it. Human oversight in critical decisions, especially mental health, has to remain. We need safeguards against manipulation.
When AI potentially influences our pleasure or happiness, how do our usual ideas of right and wrong apply?
It's tricky. Simple hedonism and just maximized pleasure overlooks the quality of pleasure, that paradox we discussed. And AI can't grasp subjective nuances anyway. Utilitarianism, greatest good for greatest number, risks sacrificing individuals and struggles to measure subjective happiness accurately.
What about virtue ethics? Focus on character.
Hard to apply to AI, which lacks reason and self-awareness in the human sense. Ultimately, AI's ethics will be the rules we program in. It won't have a genuine moral compass. That means continuous human oversight and embedding core human values is non-negotiable.
Can AI ever be truly moral or compassionate?
Based on current understanding, no. It lacks genuine emotional intelligence, empathy, nuanced interpretation, the foundations of human morality and compassion. It can analyze emotional cues, maybe help us refine our emotional intelligence, but it can't replicate human intuition or ethical judgment.
Compassion involves physical changes in us, right?
Yeah, exactly. Brain changes, hormonal responses. AI doesn't experience that. Putting AI in roles demanding true empathy is risky, could lead to ethical failures, dehumanization. It can support human care, but not replace it.
We humans rely so much on intuition, gut feelings, our belief systems. How does logical AI fit with that?
Human intuition. That quiet knowing, it comes from subconscious learning, vast experience. It lets us make context-aware calls beyond just data points. AI lacks that true intuition, that common sense.
Sort of complementary.
Ideally, yes. AI crunches data, humans provide context, emotion, ethics. AI can't replace intuition rooted in subjective experience. Think about sensing unspoken tension in a room or knowing when kindness matters more than blunt truth. AI doesn't get that.
What about belief systems, religion, philosophy?
Those frameworks give meaning, influence well-being, can even aid healing. AI, lacking consciousness and values, just operates on human interpretations we feed it. It can process info about beliefs, but can't have faith or find personal meaning. There are definite concerns about AI potentially shaping beliefs if not designed carefully.
Someone might point out that some humans act cruelly, disregard well-being. Where does AI fit in that picture?
That's a sobering point about human nature. AI currently just follows rules and data. No independent moral judgment, no compassion. It can't inherently value life or understand cruelty morally. Its ethics are programmed.
So it reflects us.
In a way, yes. It mirrors the morality or lack thereof in its programming and data. If an AI convincingly simulates suffering, how we react might say more about our ethics. It really highlights the responsibility developers have to embed values that promote human flourishing.
Looking ahead then, how do we create a future where AI and human intelligence work together well for well-being?
Strategic integration is the goal. Think
Right.
intelligence amplification, AI augmenting our skills, not replacing our core capacities. An additional support system, not a substitute for human connection or our own inner resources.
Can AI help us become more emotionally intelligent?
Potentially, yes. By tracking sentiment, running simulations, it can offer objective insights, personalized coping strategies, guide practices like meditation that physically change the brain. But think of it as a mirror for self-reflection. The integration, the growth, that's still our job.
So we need balance,
Yeah.
technology and human experience.
Absolutely. A balanced ecosystem. Valuing AI's potential, but also protecting work-life balance, fostering wellness cultures and organizations. Using human-centered AI principles, focusing on user needs, ethics, trust. We need to redefine progress beyond just efficiency, include holistic well-being. And consciously carve out time without tech, prioritizing human connection, growth, guided by ethics rooted in human values.
This has been, well, a really deep dive. So many layers to this human pursuit of well-being and relaxation. Biology, psychology, society, philosophy, and now AI.
Yeah, it touches everything.
We've seen AI's incredible power to analyze, optimize certain things, but also those fundamental limits, consciousness, emotion, purpose, genuine understanding, they seem pretty solid.
Right. It highlights the technology's capabilities, but also its profound otherness.
And that ethical imperative, guiding AI development responsibly, prioritizing human flourishing, tackling bias, ensuring privacy, preventing manipulation, that feels absolutely critical.
Couldn't agree more. The vision has to be AI as a complement, supporting our journey to well-being, but never diminishing what makes us human, the wonder, the frustrations, the hard-won insights.
So a final thought for you, our listener, to take away. What parts of your own search for well-being feel uniquely, fundamentally human? Things you believe AI just can't outsource or truly understand. Something to chew on as technology keeps weaving itself deeper into our lives. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
This is DigitView.